Hey guys, Ray here from Audience Lab, and something I wanted to cover today, and I'm going to go through and make sure this makes a lot of sense. And there's going to be a few things that I reference that will be listed down in the description below and some great resources. But what I'm here to cover is for our Audience Lab users, our incubator, or whether you're in our DaaS program and you're looking to build out your agency, particularly your data as a service agency. This is more for the clients that don't want to do the full stack fulfillment, for you agencies that are looking to do the low fulfillment, higher margins, and where you don't have to take the data and build the lists and then also embed them into the email campaigns and run the ads and do all that stuff for them. So number one, the first thing you want to think about before I cover this sheet or go through these resources is the level of the client you're working with. If you're working with little mom and pops, small to mid-size, especially smaller middle-sized businesses, if that makes sense, that have no marketing department, that have no advertising department, they're really not going to know what to do with the data. So when I'm on a sales call with a potential client, especially a brand or an advertiser, and I'm looking to embed this data into their marketing or advertising campaigns to help them get better results, lower costs, more leads, higher quality, whatever that is, if I want to be more hands off and lower fulfillment and don't want to do all the full stack stuff, I need to just ask this client, hey, Mr. Customer, if I'm to give you this list with 10,000 names, emails, phone numbers, ad profiles of your ideal clients, do you and your team know how to go weaponize and monetize this? And if the answer is no, I probably need to target a higher echelon client. So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys, if you're looking for that low fulfillment model, is you're going to have to work with the higher, more established brands, more sophisticated clients, meaning they have an internal media buyer or a marketing department or advertising department, and they know what to do with good data and how to embed it into their marketing and advertising campaigns to make a profit, to make a return on investment, et cetera, et cetera. So going through everything I would do, let's just say I'm starting from scratch. I want to build that model. I don't necessarily have money to run my own ads, and I'm not sure how to do that quite yet. Yada, 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 and I'm just starting from scratch, right? This is what I would do and what I would start with in the resources I would be going through. So below here in the description, I'm going to have the blank template laid out for the kickoff call. Now, number one, this is everything you guys should understand, and I went out and filled this out as if I was you to an extent. Now, I made it a little a little bit as if this is me, Ray, co-owner of Audience Lab, but I also geared it toward the objective and what we were talking about here on today's call. So you guys all need to be able to do this very simply. If you can't, you need to stop and reassess and get this down before you go any further. But just go through this sheet, list your name, list the niche or industry that your service provides. And again, it just might be, ad provider, data provider, whatever your specific, not who you're serving, but whatever your offer is geared. What niche or industry are you in? Now, what is your offer in very simplistic terms? You may list it the same, you may list it different, but mine is, hey, utilize our in-market intent-based first-party data platform in your marketing and advertising campaigns to lower your costs and increase ad profitability. If I want to take it further, I'd talk about how the enhanced targeting and the in-market first-party data, intent-based data, is going to ultimately help them lower cost per lead, cost per acquisition, and increase the ad profitability. But again, I just want to keep it very basic now. Now, when I list my ideal client, I do it in 3 different areas. Number one is just the who, up to the first semicolon here. Audience Lab primarily sells to other agencies and maybe some larger advertisers, but we primarily work with agencies. I wouldn't expect you guys to be exactly the same as me here. Now, number 2, I always put some prerequisites for my ideal clients. So that's from there up to the next semicolon. So we're looking to work with advertisers and agencies, preferably, and our ideal clients are those who spend or are managing a minimum of 10K in monthly ad spend, generally doing a minimum of 20K in monthly revenue in their business and looking to scale with data, tech, AI, etc. A lot of our clients are also looking for a less fulfillment, higher profit margin business model that isn't extremely saturated. I'm not just another SEO agency and there's a million of us out there, but something that I can actually stand out with on value rather than just based on price, right? A lot of us agencies that are in a very saturated market, we all know that, you have to compete sometimes on being the first one to, pitch or offer this, or you got to be the cheapest one. But now when there's ways and abilities to stand out based on the actual value you bring to the market and something 95% of your competition can't offer, we show you how to do that. And lastly, I like to put, so that's some prerequisites. And lastly, I like to put what they've tried or what might they try instead of working with Ray and Audience Lab. And most of the companies I've worked with, when I speak with them, they've likely tried scraping data. They're constantly swapping creative in their ads, but they're not focusing on advanced targeting measures and using data. They may have tried other data providers. They probably hire or have hired other ad and or creative agencies to help them out with their ads, all things like that. So you guys very clearly should be able to define the who are you serving, then list some prerequisites. And again, what I mean by that, and again, it goes back to what I talked about, if you want this type of agency and this low fulfillment, you have to, start to go to the mid to upper tier echelon and sophisticated clients. So what might I be looking for? I might be looking companies with a minimum of 10 employees, companies that have a media buyer, companies that have an advertising department or marketing department, companies doing over 2 million in revenue, companies with over 10 reps, whatever. I want to look in and do some research and make sure. Now, can we work with people and help people outside of our ideal audience? Yes, but we want to craft our messaging, our creative, and our outreach to reach our ideal audience. And then if we can help people outside that spectrum, that's great too. But when we try to create our marketing and our messaging to speak to everybody, it's really like we're speaking to no one. We want to speak to an individual niche, industry, result, solution, outcome, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go back to the homework in the PDocs research section because that's kind of the wrap up. But now I did this in your guys' objectives. So a majority of the incubator or DaaS clients that I've spoke with, again, assuming you're starting from scratch, this is usually what their immediate objective is. And your guys might be exactly the same. There might be some differences, but normally when I talk to an incubator or DaaS client that's just kicking off with them, I'm like, hey, what are you looking to accomplish here? I'd love to land a few clients organically and then ultimately start running some ads out of my ads for myself. But I would rather do that out of profit rather than out of pocket. So my goal is to get a consistent 10K a month in monthly recurring revenue or contracts, organically through some free methods, and then focus on a combination of organic and paid ads, right? Or maybe then just focus solely on paid when you get that dialed in. I don't know. Everybody's might be a little different. So now knowing that, and if that's your objective, and you guys fill this out for yourselves, the objective might be slightly different, might be totally different, right? You might not just be starting out, you're who's watching this. I'm just trying to create this for if you're starting from scratch. I'm sure you can relate to if you're currently at 10K a month and trying to get to 20K, there's going to be subtle changes in here. Now that's my immediate objective. What's the strategy and the approach to go execute on that? Number one, I need to identify an ideal client and niche and craft effective outreach messaging. Then once I have that dialed in, again, that goes back to filling out this sheet a little. Once I have that dialed in, personally, I'm going to start a 3-prong outreach approach. I'm going to utilize my warm network. I'm going to utilize cold email, and I'm going to utilize LinkedIn outreach channels. Those are the areas I've seen our clients have the most success with the DaaS agencies specifically. I'm going to link some examples of great LinkedIn outreach, other LinkedIn profiles, some trainings on what you guys need to do to effectively execute on this. Now, after that, again, first off, up to the first semicolon, identify ideal client and niche and craft outreach messaging. Next, up to the next semicolon was the 3-prong approach. Once I kind of have that dialed in, I'm going to start sending consistent emails or campaigns, LinkedIn messaging. I'm going to track my MTM, which stands for metrics that matter, open rates, receive rates, response rate, positive replies, which one clicks, whatever I'm looking for. And then I'm going to optimize and adjust based on the data and feedback. As I always talk about in all of our businesses and something we do internally is we open up the feedback loop with our market by getting out there and crafting messaging and seeing who's replying. The feedback I get on sales calls, the objections, the apprehension, the hesitation. How do I now create messaging and marketing to overcome that stuff and switch my messaging a little? So based on the data and feedback that we're getting by opening up a feedback loop within our market, then we can optimize and make adjustments. So for me, understanding what to do next in your homework, if I am you or if I'm just starting from scratch. Number one, complete this doc and this template as I just talked about. Number two, which should be done in that doc, but I just want to, highlight this. Make sure to clearly identify your ideal client and or the niche and industry you're serving. It should be both and. Shouldn't even be an or there. And because they're although they're similar, right? I'm serving the niche and industry I'm a part of, but the niche and industry I'm serving really should be right in the first sentence of your ideal client anyway, right? But then when we go to, more about your ideal client, that's putting in those prerequisites and pre-qualifying them. That's finding out or thinking about what else they might try instead of working with you, or what they've already tried and what hasn't worked. Knowing that really helps you in your conversations. Next, I want to craft effective messaging. As I put in parentheses there, remember to keep this geared around problems, solutions, and results or outcomes primarily. But I want to craft effective messaging with a clear yet non-salesy or non-sleazy call to action and a clear objective. And a lot of times mine is just for them to get a response. Hey, if this would benefit you, send yes, send a reply just saying yes. Just saying, I don't necessarily. And again, you can go about this different ways. There's no right or wrong, and there's different objectives. But I don't necessarily go with, hey, watch this video, or hey, book a call in my first email. I just want to create a little intrigue, a little interest, raise a little awareness about the problem, the solution, the result, and outcome I'm talking about, and say, hey, would this benefit your company if you saw these results? Yes, it would. Cool. Then I can go into like more again. So that's just my thoughts on it. Then what I would do, number 4, is I would hit up my warm network first, and I would just reach out to them. Hey, Bob, I see that you are also a roofer looking to land new clients. Hey, I have this cool new technology. I know we've been contacts here for years. I figured I'd reach out and offer this to you first before I take it to the mass market. I think it'll really help you drop your cost per lead and acquisition and increase your ad profitability. Is this a conversation you're open to? Are you currently running ads? Right? Just a message like that. Simultaneously, at the same point, I'd be setting up my cold email and my LinkedIn profile for outreach efforts to commence ASAP. Then start sending messaging, gather data, feedback, etc., and optimize accordingly. Right? So this should be kind of common sense, but I'll just make sure I list it in there to specify, because obviously you can gather data or feedback and optimize until we send out the campaigns, right? Should be common sense, but whatever. Let me just specify there. So, and what do I mean by like set up cold email in LinkedIn? So you should have an email, like, email outreach software if you're not currently using one. I think the two that we use most common are Smartly.ai or IO and Instantly.io or AI. I'm not familiar. I don't do our cold email personally. We can hook you up with the softwares. That's not really the sticking point in this, I don't think. Usually it's crafting the messaging and actually sending it, or where am I getting the emails from? So you could be building one list of your own from Audience Lab once you dial that in, and make sure you're building an accurate list that is actually going to give you emails for your ideal client. So you need to know some prerequisites for who you're trying to connect with, gather those emails out of the LinkedIn platform, upload those into an email autoresponder, craft some messaging, and start blasting them. Again, within the LinkedIn, you need to set up your profile for effectiveness first. I show you some examples, and there's some further training and tutorials on that, link down in the description of the video. And then I set up outreach campaigns. So I set up my LinkedIn, and again, I'll show you, and there's softwares you can be using. Sales Navigator is probably the most widely used or widely known. We use a very similar software. It's just a different name, and I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But any type of outreach software where you can kind of dial in your Boolean, meaning very directly by job title, by niche and industry, and by certain things. I'm only connecting with people that are media buyers in the e-commerce industry or whatever. Pick a couple of job titles and a couple of niches and industries and the people you want to connect with, and you set that up. And then once they accept your connection request, you start crafting messaging to hit them in LinkedIn. LinkedIn, a lot of people try to go very direct, and it's a B2B platform, but a lot of people's understanding and feelings right now on LinkedIn is there's a lot of bots, a lot of AI. I don't feel like I'm getting in personal conversations. So I say the more human and relational you can make them your messaging, and the less you just sound like you're all business or you're like a bot or an AI, the better right now is what I'm seeing perform on LinkedIn. So again, I would go in and I would make sure I had this document fully filled out. And again, I'm going to list the blank template is going to be listed here in the description of this video. I would, again, go through and make sure to clearly understand and identify my ideal client, which again is part of this document, craft messaging, set it up in LinkedIn and cold email, hit my warm network. Then once I got up to consistent 10K months, I'd probably take about $2,000 or $2,500 and start to invest that and start to create my own ads. Then once I get those optimized and I see how many appointments they're bringing me in, I might delegate or outsource some of the organic stuff and hire a VA, hire a team member, whatever. I can help you guys with that and finding, team members if you need people to help with that, et cetera, et cetera. But that's exactly what I would be doing. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have any questions or anything you want me to create an additional tutorial or training on or elaborate more, let me know. But I'm just going to kind of link all the best resources in the description. Oh, the one other thing you guys should be aware of is when I said like craft effective messaging, please remember I tell people to remember to keep this geared around problems, solutions, and results and outcomes, because that's what people reply to. But you guys all know within the seller's document resource that we provide you guys, all of you incubator and DaaS clients, especially if you've attended my workshops, should have this. I'll list it down in the description as well. But number 3 on here gives you examples of our current ads, our current creative we're creating on LinkedIn messaging. There's a couple examples of what we use. There's examples of our different email messaging we use for different campaigns. Some are for awareness, some are for, webinar registrants, some are just, to actually get a direct call to action and get them to raise their hand, as I talked about. So showing you examples of our messaging, our emails, our copy, our LinkedIn that's going out, and also give you some good templates and frameworks for how to craft yours. So I'll make sure that's also included there. So guys, this is the exact game plan and blueprint I would be implementing myself. Make sure I'm targeting the right clients, the right tier of clients. Make sure I'm identifying some prerequisites. So I'm only working with brands that are on the level that can just buy data from me, and I don't got to be bogged down with the fulfillment of that. And then follow the process as I laid it out here. Definitely what I dropped below in terms of the additional tutorials, there's a lot of value there. There's some tutorials that I usually only give to our DaaS clients that I'm going to include in there in terms of pricing, in terms of, setting up LinkedIn outreach campaigns and mutually beneficial partnerships. I'm going to drop my whole LinkedIn training folder on how to optimize your profile, good profile examples, good LinkedIn messaging, and everything I can give you guys down in the description to go execute on this.